Yes.
All right, thank you, Scott. Jumped on there. Um, Thank you. Yes, I am flying solo today. I'll do my best to keep an eye on the questions panel. Some of you regulars know it's been a couple weeks. We were inundated, like Scott said. It really was a record-setting test drive by not even close. So it was great to see that. Our efforts were more geared towards that test drive. So we're back to our regular schedule. And the Tuesday afternoons mean we're going to talk about trade of the week. So thanks for your patience on those 2 weeks, and thanks for showing back up. It looks like the room is filling up. So disclaimer is the way we always start here. Just a reminder that we're not registered investment advisors. We're not money managers. We're not brokers. We are a software as a subscription company. I'm a user and an employee, and I've got some opinions, and some of the opinions I share are not to be construed as financial advice. If you need that, you got to go pay the fees to the people who took the tests. So, few things we will update, probably next slide next week, but let me just touch on a few things. We've been around a long time, 17 years, which is pretty darn good in this industry, and we've created a very rich, feature-rich product. And learning that product is not something you do immediately and overnight, or even during a week, or even a test drive. A lot of people in the test drive are taking advantage of the promo code we're putting out and taking another month to continued education, so to speak, because the market is a big animal and we all approach it differently. And this is a great product to try and pull out of the market and curate the message and the data that only you want to see. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. So what I'm getting at is we have a lot of support. You know, whether you're in the live trading room with Barry, you have seen the value of that. He's there Monday through Friday with the between the bell. He reminds us often to send people in there so you can demonstrate something. But it's a great place of a few hundred traders and a great place to also learn, ask questions, pop in anytime you want. It's free and it gives a lot of the paid rooms a pretty good run. We have the afternoon webinars, such as we're doing now on our regular schedule. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. No afternoon webinars on Friday, but let me kind of tease you with this, and I promise we will have this slide hopefully updated next week because we kind of have a new format when it comes to the TI University. So here's what's going to happen. TI University has been updated, re-recorded with all of our current stuff and put onto our Trade Ideas channel as a playlist called the Trade Ideas University playlist. So no longer are we going to show up at noon Eastern and go through the same content in a live format for a handful of people over and over. We have now evergreened that. It will now be a recording. So new people that come in, you can go right to the recording class, and you can essentially come into our live chat bubble on our website, trade-ideas.com, during market hours and say, hey, I'm watching 201 here and I need some clarification on this. So it'll be a nice way to evergreen the TI University so the guys here can have the bandwidth to move on with live support and do other things. Primarily support some of the cool new tools we have coming out, mainly Brokerage Plus, paper trading, a lot of that stuff. So going forward, we actually started today. It's a YouTube link. It's the live YouTube link. Maybe somebody will throw it in the chat window, and you can save it and keep it for coming events. Matter of fact, I'll do that right now. I'll just grab the link here from an old prior chat because I was talking with somebody, and I'm going to drop this Trade Ideas Live. This is our YouTube channel. And what you can do is you can copy this link and then hit the reminder. And the reminder will send you a push notification that, hey, we're going live. So every day, let me drop this in the chat window, every day, Monday through Friday, noon Eastern, we're going to do this. So live link going forward is what I'm typing into the chat window. And we actually had a really good turnout for our first day today. And I imagine that turnout is only going to snowball from here because of the ease of use. You're sitting in the DMB and you're bored as hell and you get a live link notification, put your headphones in and pop up. All right, Mike. Yes, sometimes those TI University webinars can be a butt, going through the GoToWebinar is a double-click interface, and that was our idea, is to try and simplify and streamline things a little bit. So let me get back to the topic at hand, which is going forward, TI University is going to be evergreened into our YouTube playlist, but we're always available to answer questions on our website. And then going forward, we will have some content for you. Noon Eastern, every day, Monday through Friday. Grab that link that I just dropped in chat window and set the alarm, and you will not miss anything. Man and machine combined, it's our usual theme, and I'm just going to stick with it. I borrowed it from Brian Shannon, and he gracefully let me have it, as long as I give him credit. No, I'm just kidding. We are living in a world where we are going to be having to work with data, and machines, AI, and whatnot are going to give us the best curated list of ideas, and we take it from there, which is a great segue, you know, for maybe even segueing into the AI moderate mode, meaning the value of the AI is the entry, and then we take it from there. That's a perfect example of human and machine working together, and I have empirical data, and you can get empirical data too by just going back and looking at a history on the AI. Go back 3 months and see which one is doing better. Conservative, meaning the AI gets in and gets out, which is usually early, I might add, or the moderate, meaning the AI gets us in and then the human takes it from there, and the moderates are usually outperforming the conservative because the human can see things that the AI can't once the trade has been initiated. And I'm going to go over a couple of things for maybe people who might be wondering what's he talking about. But it's only me today, and I'm going to try and get through it in 45 minutes or so. We're already 10 minutes into it, but we'll start with the usual market analysis. I'm going to, you know, I have a clear chart there now. I use that for the anchored VWAP. I'm going to pull up the big chart with my usual moving averages. And just a quick reminder, this market, it cannot be stopped. I mean, I think we all know the elephant in the room out there is this coronavirus happening, and people wondering, when is it going to take effect? Well, the market is a forward-looking mechanism, and it doesn't really seem to be concerned with it at this point. However, we'll get to that in a minute in terms of Apple. There might be a little bit of interesting headway in Apple. But I said it the last time we spoke, you know, there's just not a lot of, we did have a little bit of a mess back here, which we didn't talk much about, but boy, let's talk about that. The S&P found support at where all the programming people trade and write their algorithms, probably step in and be a buyer of a bull market right at or around the 50-day moving average, which also corresponded with a nice little level of support there. So hindsight, it's 2020, of course. This was a great place for the buyers to step back in. Okay, we actually were short a few things and had some VIX, but quickly realized, I'll tell you when we quickly realized, I've talked about it before, this right there is what you would call a pro gap, a reversal gap from the short downturn trend, immediately snapped the necks of the short sellers overnight, and we recognized it was time to get out of some of the shorts we had on that day. The market is setting up again, possibly for something, a lot of sideways action here above its moving average. There's really not much bad you can say other than some people, and I'm not one of them, but some people are saying, why isn't the market more scared of the virus? And we can't really say for sure why the market isn't scared of the virus, because it's not. We'll see what happens, and we'll just play it from there. Let's go take a look at the NASDAQ. The Qs are pretty much the same as the S&P 500. You know, no bear case to be made here. We're still even floating above this moving average, and we're floating in a sideways pattern, just kind of waiting for that moving average to come. All bets would probably say that you can expect a continuation pattern from that. So we shall see. Again, I've said before in the past, if you're waiting for a black swan, like something coronavirus or something to come out of the blue and prove your thesis right, you're not doing it right. You've got to focus on the footprints in the sand and pay attention to what the market's telling us. And for the moment, it's bull market is still on. There is no fear. I will go to the Russell 2000 for a moment. Again, this thing is just playing lagger, doesn't want to participate, but hey, look at that. It bounced and it's above its moving averages. What do you know? I will show you the treasuries have also been doing some things of interest. JC Peretz was talking about it, some other good people. It's a big wedge in the treasury market. And for the last 2 or 3 weeks, prices have been moving out of that wedge. I find that kind of interesting. I also tweeted that gold and silver get long because they're going, and they certainly didn't disappoint today. Gold and silver, nice breakout there. Pause is one of them that I've been long, but they have earnings coming up, as you can see by the red box there. That certainly helps us. But let me just show you something here. Here's another example of the price action that I try to highlight a lot of the times when good stocks open up and shake everybody out. There's the low right there, taking out 2 days of lows, trying to shake the people out only to reverse and laugh at them and go higher for the rest of the day. So if you're going to make trading decisions, try not to make them in the first 15 minutes, because that's where all of the action is in terms of trying to separate you from your shares of a good stock. I thought that was a good example. So let's get to the big one here that I find interesting. If you were paying attention last night on the overnight market, when the futures opened, well, actually 5 minutes before the futures opened, it was nice enough of Apple to drop a warning. And that warning is exactly what we're kind of asking about. At what point is this coronavirus, we've all seen the video, the streets are empty over there, nobody's going to work, and this is where we get all our stuff. So what's going to happen in April, May, and June when the supply chain starts to hiccup into what we're seeing right now? Well, Apple already gave us that warning last night, and pretty good sell-off on the news, but as the way this market is, there's no fear. So what did they do? The buyers stepped in and they kicked it back into play. If you were with me during the live portion today, and I'll do it again in a minute here, my one and only binary flow chart, if you will, is do I stay in or do I get out, is what to do when the 10-period moving average catches up to price. So I was saying, if you were somebody who was short Apple this morning, you would expect the price right here to continue to get thrown to new fresh lows, but it didn't. It broke ranks and closed right there. That trade was off. So for the rest of the day, the market has continued to show itself as the zombie that just can't be killed. You can pump as many shotgun shells and bullets in as you want, but it's just going to keep walking in a northerly direction. But I did find it interesting. There was a bit of a warning shot given from Apple last night. Kind of what we're all wondering, what's going to happen to Walmart? I don't know. We've seen what's happened to Carnival Cruise Lines and the airlines. They've taken a pretty good hit in the last 3 weeks. So we'll see. But the portion of this area is market recap, and there is really no bear case to start pointing to in terms of the price action. But we'll keep an eye on price action and see where it takes us. All right, as I fumble around with these charts, let's get back into, normally I would have Andy with me and we would go over the AI. And when it comes to the zombie apocalypse, David, you're correct. When it comes to the AI lately, I've got kind of one thing only. I'm not interested in NEO at the moment. I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm not interested in Holly AI at the moment. I'm not interested in Holly 2.0 at the moment because that's going to be turned into our swing channel, which will be nice, coming soon. But for now, I'm really only interested in NEO, okay, because this is where the volume is. And there was only 3 trades today, a couple of good ones we'll take a look at, whereas the other ones had 10 trades and then that one was quiet. So I am only focused on NEO going forward, and that's where I'm going to continue to focus today. What I will do today is go through each trade and just kind of walk through, and for maybe somebody, again, who is looking for ideas of what do I trade, these are great ideas. Why? Let's take a look. Up here, 17 times normal volume. That's a pretty good, significant anomaly for that stock sequence today, doing 17 times normal volume. BLPH, pretty good one too, but let's go back. I got ahead of myself. What I'm looking at, and what anybody should be looking at, no matter if you're in a swing trade or a momentum or a day trade, and you're trying to keep the price going in your direction with good momentum, is what is the 10-period moving average doing? And it becomes my binary checkoff. So here was a test, didn't close below, stay long. Here was another test, it didn't close below, stay long. But then the sideways action, it really needed to go right there. And I would have stayed in it had I been in it. I'm speaking hypothetically. This is what I do in all my trades in terms of the intraday chart, 15-minute chart, 10-minute, 10-period moving average. This was the tell right there. That chart would have, that closing candle, the key being it closed below my momentum line. Well, the next one did, the next one did, and it popped up a little bit, but for the most part, this was just noise at the end of the day. So if you want to catch the meat of the move and get the best run for your money and not get mad for getting out too soon, like a lot of times the AI does, just use this 10-period moving average. So there was our moment of truth right there. Let's go to the other one that ran really hard, almost 50% at one point, came back. It had its moment to try and bounce and recover right there, but it didn't. It posted kind of a little 15-minute doji below, and that's enough for me. Close below, get out. Well, in the bigger scheme of things, by the end of the day, no harm, no foul. A little bit of noise, you got the meat of the move right there. So that, before we go that, let's look at the last one. This was a stop out. So really nice on this one. This was an early trade. A lot of times these early trades can be very volatile. Our blue line was long. We didn't spend much time in profit before it quickly reversed, and that red line was our stop out. And in this case, the risk management of the AI, we always adhere to the stop outs. We never ignore the stop outs. There's no calculation to ignore the stops. There is, it's called extreme or aggressive, but we don't talk about it or don't use it. Look at all that was saved. If somebody was actually doing this and followed the advice, get out, that was a lot of money saved. And then as we look at it, look what got a hold of it. The old 10-period moving average, the reversal, the momentum completely reversed for the most part, and then it got the underside of that. We didn't want that because we wanted to be long. So a quick trip down what happened today, Lane, in 3 trades, net winners, but I just try to keep it as simple as possible. Now I use this method when I'm, maybe trying to get out of a swing trade, there were 2 of them today in our other account, Pause and Newmont. And I tweeted last week, get long these things because they're going to go. But the problem is, and thank God we now do this, look at that red box screaming at me saying, you've cut earnings tomorrow. And if I hadn't seen that, I might not have missed it. So I had to get out today. So I basically stayed in this thing all day as long as I could and got out right about here just because it was time. And then Newmont was the other one. Newmont has earnings in 2 days. There's our yellow indicator. I got out of Newmont, I believe, right here at highs. And so today was a little different. I didn't wait for that break. And as it is, sometimes it's nice to sell half or so when it's making a new high. But knowing that we had earnings sticking around, I wanted to lock those profits in. So all day long, my point is, I'm not a day trader, I'm a swing trader. But when I get my move, call this moving day, as they do in golf, moving day is when we move out of a range with a big green candle and big volume. I want to have moving day ride this intraday moving average all day long and just keep it as simple as that. All right, moving on. We actually have 3 trade of the weeks since we haven't been here for 2 weeks. So we can spend a little bit of time on those. The first one was TAL, and I think Andy found this one on one of his scans. I can't quite recall the genesis of it, but the idea was, I believe, to get long above that level right there. The trade took a few days to go, but it eventually did. And look at that, the daily 10-period moving average got tested today, but it didn't close below. So there still might be some meat on that bone. But that was 2 weeks ago. Last week, we had one from Jay. Jay was also I'm trying to do a lot of this, is look at the buy tag. This one actually came from NEO on that particular day, and it was the day of earnings. There it is, February 4th, so we had a lot of volatility, and then some movement out of that range, out of the big NEO purchase day. So here's a great example of keeping something on your radar once you see it, and we'll do that at the end of the session today. Pretty good run there for last week's trade of the week. When you get down to it, a single candle, a bit of a topping tail right there. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of drift back to the moving averages. But again, if you're selling a quarter or a third along the way as it's making new highs and people are reaching up and grabbing it, it's always a nice, satisfying feeling. Which brings us to iRobot this week. Again, a buy tag from the AI NEO last week from earnings. I believe that was February 5th. Yep. A lot of noise, settling back down. But, coming into today, I didn't have that big red monster there. It looked more like this. So what we have was no trigger. The blue line is still intact. It still could come back and trigger. We'll fast forward back to today. A nasty, nasty running of the stops is what I'm going to call that. And just like pause earlier today, maybe this counter move before the real move has to happen. But nonetheless, that blue line was not breached. It was the high of last Friday, and it still is in play. It could happen. And now with actually, looking at hindsight with today's candle like that, it's kind of a pullback and then release, like a, what do you call a slingshot? A couple questions coming in, so I'll take a moment to do that. One person is asking on the S1O, what does short recovery days tell us? Short recovery days, where is that? That's not the actual wording, is it? Short growth. You mean change? No, short growth. Well, I'm going to guess that short change in growth is going to be the change in every 15 days of how many short sellers are in the stock. You take the float minus, divided by the short sellers. It's probably not right. It's been a long day. But if the next 15 days data increases in short sellers, then that number is going to grow up. The short growth is going to go up. The float doesn't necessarily change, but the short float will change. You got it. Okay, that was the one. I hit it. The other question from ST, what are the differences between Holy Grail and 2.0 and Neo? Currently, they're in flux, like I said. What I would rather say is not what the difference is now, but what are they going to be? Holly 2.0 is very soon going to become a swing channel, meaning all of the trades in here, the entries are tested for a multi-day hold. That's going to be interesting. And then Holly AI is just going to be reformatted to kind of become more like AI Neo, which is looking for volume, volume, volume. That's the big takeaway. And so these are being reformatted. I really don't want to try and backtrack because that's going to change very soon. All right. So those were the trade of the weeks. Are they going to be price level specific? I don't know, Mike. A lot of people ask that, and I think there is some attempt to try and say, hey, let's make a channel that only trades stocks under 20. I know where you're going with that, and because you say it and a lot of other people say it, we want to be sensitive to what our users are saying. If they are looking for lower price stocks, then a further iteration down the road should probably have something like that, but I just don't know when and how soon. All right, so let me go to my cheat sheet here and see what I wanted to talk about today. So we got all that out of the way. I don't know if the email went out, but I had mentioned, a lot of times I like to take swing trades on the close. Before I get to that, can those trades be auto traded too? Yes. So when that does come out, when the swing trades do come out on the Holly 2.0 channel, yes, if you're enabled to auto trade the AI, you will be able to auto trade swing trades. That is correct. I should have thought of a good example before I brought this up, but I'm trying to think of a great example of something that you could get into beforehand. Well, let me do this. I have an idea. Let's say I'm looking at this BLL here, and boy, it held the test there of my 10 period. It held the test there of my 10 period. There. This is getting redundant. There. That's 5%. This was, by the way, this was on the short list for trade of the week, but didn't make it. Kind of wish I'd picked it. It's a good looking trade, but it's going to, excuse me, it's going to be a good example for what I want to talk about. I didn't buy it today, but this is something that I would buy. And my point is, when swing trading, you don't always need to wait until the next day to open to buy. Sometimes the early bird gets the worm if you just trust what you see. And midday, this thing was down here on lows. It was actually touching the 10 period. But by the end of the day, you start to see the 8th or 9th iteration of a successful test of my momentum line on the daily. And you got to ask yourself, why not just buy on the close? So I guess what I'm saying is, if you're one of those people that wants to wait until the market opens the next day, or more importantly, you're one of those people who's afraid to go home at night taking home a position because you're just afraid. Well, you've ever heard the old axiom, the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward? Well, when you take home a little risk with everything else looking good, guess what? Sometimes these setups gap up the next day, and before you even can hit the buy button, they take off, and you're like, forget it. I've seen that. It happens a lot. So the little detour I'm hitting here is, when trading and swing trading, you don't have to wait for the next day to open and see how it opens. If it looks good, buy it on the close. And sometimes you get that 1 point gap up and you're like, wow, boy, am I sure glad I did that. So, and I'm glad I pulled a chart out of thin air, because this is the kind of chart I'm thinking about. When the bell is getting ready to ring and you look at this thing and you go, man, I don't see anything wrong with this. Buy it on the close. Don't be afraid to take stock home, unless it's a biotech with just one FDA product in the pipeline. That might not be as advisable. Has there been any movement on finding a second broker for Brokerage Plus? Yes, Bill, there is some movement. I don't know necessarily who. I'll have to wait for our, business developers to tie those knots together, and then we can talk about it, but there is, and one of them is a rather big name, but I just probably shouldn't say at this point. I'll get a slap on the hand email. Okay, so we're all caught up on those. We're at the bottom of the hour here, all right, so we're doing pretty good on time. Because now what I want to talk about is the new buy buttons feature. So I am running today's brand new version. But if you go to our website and scroll down on the download page and get our beta version, you will now see something new. You will see buy and sell buttons. And this is just another step of us moving closer to graphical trading, one-click trading, not pulling something up and typing and scrolling. And this was the next step. So let's use our old BLL here as an example. And there's two ways, we can use these buy buttons. We can use these buy buttons. I want to buy a limit buy if it pulls back. There's my line. I want to buy a limit if it pulls back, as an example of that would be. Or some people like to not miss out, and maybe they didn't take this stock home tonight, but what if tomorrow this thing starts to trade a little bit higher, indicated by this level? Well, you'd want to participate in that, and if you're not looking, the only way to get into something like that would be a stop limit with an offset. And using our trading, I'm going to show you how we do that. So there's really two things that have to be done to make these buttons work. All right, let's open up and you can do this in the paper trade mode, of course. In order to make these buttons move, these are all strategies, and all these strategies have a set of trading instructions. Buy X amount of shares, use this as your stop loss, or use the low of the day as a stop loss. All of those preset orders are being transmitted in these strategies. So we have to assign one of these strategies to these buttons, otherwise they won't work. So I think I did this earlier. I'm just going to use this jam down buy. I'm going to go and I'm going to edit. I'm going to look at a couple things here. First off, I want my entry time. Entry time doesn't matter because it's going to be a manual order. We're just trying to set up the parameters or the order details, if you will. So when I hit that buy button, whatever I buy, I'm going to want my stop to not be greater than a risk of $100. And I already know where I want to put my stop. But here's the kicker. If you want to participate in a limit order on a pullback, buying a pullback and the price pulls back and hits you, there's your limit. But I don't recommend market. If you want to do stop limit, meaning the price is coming up underneath, and then if it trades through, all of a sudden it activates our price, we need to also have an offset. I would say maybe -5, so you'll reach up to the tune of 5 cents once that stop limit has been triggered. But we're setting our parameters here for the buttons, remember. So it's going to be a stop limit. We're going to risk $100, and we'll reach up to 5 cents above. All right, here's where it gets fun. The risk management. I'm always going to want to be, when I buy a jam down buy, I'm always going to want to have the low of the current day be my stop. And there's an easy way to do that. And if you don't know how to do that, watch, it's pretty cool. With the stop loss in percent here, I can manipulate this window. I'm going to change that to zeros. And then I'm going to go up here, I'm going to go to filter. And those stay in the zero category. Now I'm going to go to filter, and I'm going to look for what's called above low. Michael Noss showed me this. Above low in dollars. Okay, so my filter is above low in dollars. How far above low? 0. So in effect, my stop loss is today's low. This is how you would configure that. So we've got our order detail to buy above the price being a stop limit. As the price is triggered, we want to go no higher than 5 cents if it does trigger. And our risk management is going to be at the low of the day. Let's click OK on this. Oops, entry stop filter value not selected. Select before clicking. Entry stop. What? Oh, entry stop filter. Ah. Stop limit. Wait a minute. Uh-oh. Entry stop filter. Value not selected. Select one before clicking OK. Entry value. That's really interesting. What did I do here? Gosh darn it. Bear with me for a moment here, because this is brand new, of course, and I'm learning as we go. Stop formula. Oh, no, that's not it. Stop limit. Oh, maybe this is doing something. above low. Let me just try that. See if it likes that. Oh, I like that. Okay. Um, Next step. You see this checkbox here? Default chart long. So of all of these, only one can have this box next to it. Default chart. The chart long strategy. This is the buy parameters that we just configured that is now connected to these buttons. So if all were correct, and I did this, Scott's not going to help me on that. This is a trading question. Scott can help me on SEO. The buy button, when I click that, it's going to initiate it. Okay, now we've got our crosshair. The next time I click this, it's going to send an order at the level. And as we said, it's going to be right above. So I'm going to put it at 7807.06. And when I click this, we should see something. And we're not, probably because it's after hours. I'm going to assume that. That's okay. Let me try something else. Let me just see if I can get something else to work there. Okay, maybe the stop limit isn't working after hours, but again, this is intended to be a gloss over. We'll work out the fine details because this is beyond beta, but that's what the new buttons are for. And ideally, we'll get some sort of, maybe I have to turn that on to have that. Let me just see if I have to enable that. Oh, you know what? It would help if I was connected. Maybe that would help everybody. Let me go back to the other trade. Okay, PLL, let's try this again. We'll hit our buy button, go right above. Sweet, it worked. It worked exactly the way I wanted it to. So our blue line is indicating it's a stop limit at 7804. The stop order has already been sent at the low of the day, which is exactly where it should be. And the shares have been calculated. I don't know what the shares are, but look, I can actually come back and I can lower this a little bit, give it a bit more wiggle room. It tells me, look, $112 if I go down there. We don't want that, so we can bring it back to, so everything is computing correctly. The big takeaway is you've got to assign one of these strategies your default chart strategy, okay? Lots of bells and whistles, yeah. Just signed up for the standard. Can I still access the AI buys and stops, or will it only show me the buy trigger? It'll only show you the buy triggers from the past if you're on the standard version, Jeff. Good question. Okay, so more on that in the future. We've got to get through a few things here. It's pretty funny that I was not enabled because I downloaded the brand new version, but one-click orders, really cool buttons. You can do everything from there. You can adjust that as well if I wanted to. Where are we going next? There's one more thing I want to talk about. And again, a brand new feature. So as you all know, this is the single stock window. And let me just type something in here today. Pause, as I said, was pretty good silver stock. This stock was having a pretty good day along with a lot of other things. Well, in the past, our single stock window had the detail, and then we had the profile of what they did, and then we added insiders. And most recently, we come backwards to this news tab. We added a news tab, and this is linked directly to Google News, so everything that's happening is coming through here. But here's the special part, a brand new one. Similar, stocks like this. People are always asking, like, how do I know what stocks are in the same sector? Well, what I've just done is I've typed in PAS, pause, and now this window is giving me everything that's similar. AG, that's another silver stock. Hey, if silver's having a good day, I need to know who are the players, and here they are. So look at what we're doing for you guys now. We are giving you a list on the fly of who are the players. Let's think, what's another example? What's a solar company? First Solar. They're not even a solar company. Yeah, they are. First Solar, look at this. This one's chocked full of ideas. These are all having to do, with solar. So a brand new feature, nice feature, exactly similar. It's coming soon. It's not in any of the beta versions released yet, but it is going to be coming soon. Very neat feature, especially for people who are kind of new to the market. They don't really know where to look or where to focus their eyes. And it's a pretty neat tool. I just started playing with it today. It is very cool, Bill. I'm telling you, they just don't stop innovating, That's why this company is, I think, a little different than others. It's built by traders and run by traders, not by developers and marketers. Not that there's anything wrong, but all three of us work very well together, developers, marketers, and traders, to create trade ideas as it is and how it continues to innovate. All right, so that is the second of the new features I wanted to talk to. And then usually on our way out, I try and maybe set a few price alerts, share a few things. I'm going to delete all those and just kind of go through a few things. That BLL, I really like that, and we use that as our example today. We didn't get it, but let's go ahead and right click and mark this one up as something to keep an eye on. And we'll just go ahead and click on save. And there it is. There was another one. Oh, see, there you go, BLL. There's my list. There was another one that looked pretty darn good. It wasn't that one. That one's getting too far away from its moving average. But this one, CCK, also, hey, look at that. It's been going sideways. Let's go ahead and mark that one up too, just because we can. So there's a great use of a BLL chart, and a lot of the similar charts in this, a lot of the similar companies in the same family might have similar looking charts. Let's go down here to these. That's an interesting one. NASDAQ really opened up. I'm gonna go back to my detail so I don't miss any. I'm gonna pass on that one. These are looking for ones that blew through in the morning. Yeah, I'm gonna mark this one up as a possible follow through. A nice shakeout on the open. Nothing that I see there. Nothing I see there. Lastly, we'll go through here, and I went through earlier, and a lot of them are going to say the same thing. I'm not going to chase that. Not really into that. That one would have been nice a couple days ago. I mean, look, there's our moving average kicking the price back into play. Look at that. If you'd have bought that doji, like I was talking about earlier, saying, God, that's a nice looking close. I should take the stock home overnight. Well, you were rewarded by doing that, taking that stock home overnight, because everything else looked great. Why wait till the next day? Not going to chase that, though. Missed that one. You can make a case for that, but there's a lot of long, spiky candles. I don't like that one. This one's consolidating, but it's not ready. It's still too early. That could be getting interesting. I might go ahead and just put an alert. I'd like to see it touch. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put an alert in there where I'm going to say, need to see touch of 10 SMA first. Notes to myself and anybody else who takes these. Not going to chase that. Not going to chase that. Not going to chase that. That's what I was saying earlier. Yeah. I think this is the one I like. Yeah, DNL, I like this one. It's kind of going sideways. And look, we got ourselves an AI buy. I don't know if that was NEO or the other ones, but a really nice little dish there above the moving averages, just begging for a break. So I'm going to put the price right above today's high. And I don't know if I'll see too many more down on the bottom here. I'm looking for the short squeezes that haven't already run. That was a prior trade of the week, so we're going to go ahead and make this the last one and just say if this thing can take out that sideways action, I'm going to like it. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 working trade ideas. These will pop on my screen in real time at the same time they pop on your screen at the real time, because I'm going to copy and share these with the group for whoever wants them. I'm going to call these shared alerts, then we'll bring Scott back in. There's the cloud code for those. So if you want to mark those up, you can do them yourself, or you can accept those cloud codes, and it'll populate your price alerts as soon as you do that. And then tomorrow or the next day, if any of those trigger, it will trigger all at the same time for us. And that is all I have for you guys. So let me bring in Scott for some final announcements. And I will not see you next week. Sorry, I've got a surgery plan, but I'll be back in 2 weeks, I hope. So bring this back up and we'll say hi to Scott.
Sounds good. Thank you. So a couple things on the way out. If you don't have our series of the setup ebooks, go ahead and go to that landing page, trade-ideas.com/setup, put in your email address to get the downloads, and grab them. They're good. Steve contributed some chapters to them, and they're arranged by topic, and they also include some cloud links so that you can add strategies to your layout after reading about them. We've got a podcast intermittently released, usually on Fridays. You can search for Trade Ideas Podcast wherever you listen to your pods and just add us as a subscription. That way, when there's something fresh coming out, you'll get it in your stream there, and you can enjoy it. We've got a code good for 15% off your first month or year of Trade Ideas. NEWTOW, new trade of the week, NEWTOW. It's good for the rest of this month. So don't forget to use it before the 29th. We have that extra day this February. If you are on the Twitters, you can follow Steve at Today Trader. We've also got at Trade Ideas and a few other handles floating around. If you follow one of them, you'll see the other one. So Facebook.com/Trade Ideas Pro is our Facebook page to like, follow, and share stuff with your friends. Any questions, always send them to info@trade-ideas.com. That goes into our help desk software where it gets routed and tracked, and it's the best place to send your tickets. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, everyone, for attending. We'll get that recording out to you later on tonight or tomorrow morning, and keep an eye out for that email with the link. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Steve.
See you next time.